everybody to rise and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first of all, welcome to Kitty's. Everybody at the bar, I know it's a social thing, but this is an important thing. All right, you should be, if you're having a problem hearing me, let me know. Okay, all right, you want the volume up? Does that work? Does that work? Okay. So, welcome. We've been doing this, the North Reading Republican Town Committee has been doing this for some years now, ever since the League of Women's Voters went defunct. We thought it was a good thing to do, and I think by the attendance tonight, we have a very good turnout, and we have a wonderful group of candidates who want to represent you for 3 years. Okay. I want to say that, as I said, we sponsored this actually since 2018. Our purpose is to give voters the opportunity to get to know candidates wishing to represent them. The local level of representation is just as important as the national arena. Many times, even more so, since the decisions have a direct impact on the property values, children's education, town stability, and growth. We have 12 candidates. Their names are in front. You'll be able to see that. I'm going to ask the candidates when they speak is to stand up, because some of the people in the back will not be able to see you or see your name. But I'm asking you to please stand when you do your opening statements. Before we continue, one of the things that we do that is important for this event is that we do a scholarship fundraiser. And you know what? I'm going to wait on that until the candidates introduce themselves. So we're going to go around the table. We're going to start with John Murphy, who is the moderator. His race is uncontested, but he has an opportunity. When he speaks, you can ask him some questions. The format will be a little bit different than for the candidates. If you ask a question of one candidate, pretty much it will be a candidate for all to answer, because sometimes they entwine. A select board, the question to the select board might have an impact on something that the CPC is doing, and so we intertwine them. All right, so we'll bring it to full circle. We'll try to make it brief. They'll have timed answers, because they have to be succinct and direct and to the point. So let me, without further ado, let's start with Mr. Murphy, the moderator of North Reading. No, you have to come
Good evening. It's great to see everyone here. As Jeff mentioned, my name is John Murphy. I'm running for my 21st term. I'm running for my 21st term as town moderator. I've served North Reading since I moved here in 1995. I was originally on the elementary school building committee, and then I ran for select board, and then when my term, I did one term on select board, and then I ran for town moderator, and I have ever since. Being a town moderator and town meeting is democracy in its purest form. All registered voters are entitled to attend because we have an open town meeting. The meeting format is ruled by the charter, the bylaws, and Robert's Rules of Order. I enjoy doing it, although sometimes not as much. I enjoy it. I enjoy giving back to the community, and I think the other duty I have, in addition to the town meetings, is the appointment of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee Chair, Abby, is sitting over to my right. So I appoint the Finance Committee. But the most important one of all is at the Memorial Day Parade, the kids decorate their bikes, and I get to pick the 3 best bikes. And that's the toughest part of the job, especially when somebody gets offended. So everybody gets a ribbon. I'll answer any questions if there are any questions.
Does anybody have a question for the moderator? In the back? Please state your name.
My name is Don Miller, 6 Ashford Drive. The last town meeting I attended, and I'm not sure it was the most recent one, was basically a disaster in terms of control of the audience. People were shouting out. People continued to speak maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes instead of a 2-minute deadline, which is normal. I'm wondering if you have any hope of restoring decorum to the town meetings.
Yeah, really.
I do, and I have a hope of it, but I can only control it to a certain degree. And when we have contentious articles on the floor of the town meeting, first of all, everybody gets 5 minutes. Everybody gets 5 minutes, not 2 minutes. And then when you have, there are town meeting, there are people that go every town meeting. And then there are people that go for different reasons, different issues, something that's on the warrant. And then there are people who sometimes go and they want to talk about anything but what's on the warrant. And that was actually most recently in the past, it was the first time I ever had to have anyone removed from the meeting by the constable. The decorum can come from all of us. If everybody waits their turn, if they wait to be recognized, if they don't shout out from their chair, then the decorum comes from us. I ask for it, but I can't. I'm not a magician. So, that's my response to that. Hopefully that helps.
Any other question? Well, thank you, John. Hey, thank you very much. Good
Thank you
luck.
all.
Hello?
Okay, next is Chuck Carucci. God bless you.
Thank you.
He's running for the Housing Authority, and between him and Warren, I'm gonna guess you are the most experienced person in this room, the most knowledgeable. Okay, I'm gonna guess. I know Warren's been around a long time too, so, but he's a wise man. So, Mr. Carucci, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yep. Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay. My name is Charles Carucci. I have been in North Reading since 1947. I know where all the bodies are buried. I want to know. All right. I went to North Reading High School. Graduated in 1960. married my sweetheart for my high school days. We celebrated 62 years this year. That's working pretty good. I have 3 children that are still living in North Reading, who raised their children, my grandchildren, and 5 of them are still living in North Reading. So it is a nice little town, all right? And I would like to see it continue, and especially somewhere along the lines to be able to do some housing in the town. Now, as far as the housing that we have in North Reading, I don't know how many people realize that that is state and federal. The town has nothing to do with it as far as expenses. We're a board that has, at the wishes of the state, so that you know that. We have 40 units, you don't know, over by the Bachelor School, and we have 4 houses up on Swan Pond that are part of the housing. So that you know what else I've done in the town, I served time on the planning board. I was on the Board of Appeals. I also was chairman of the middle school, high school building. I'm also on the Hillview Commission, which is the pride of this town. Who doesn't know that Hillview doesn't cost the town 10 cents, all right? What else do I got? Secondary, yep. All right, I'm going to have some questions for the selectmen and the planning board, but I won't do that till the term comes up. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Carucci? I do. I wanted to ask you a question with regard to the last debate that the DTC did, and they had a good turnout. They did a good job. But you had mentioned about something about your appointment that you wanted to have, but you were unable to have.
There is still one open position left for the Housing Authority, and that's a state appointment, all right? That's by the governor, so if you're not a Democrat, you're not going to get it. All right, I wanted it, but they told me forget it. That's that.
Just a question quick for Chucky. Chucky, do you have any input as to applying for senior housing? I mean, you know what senior housing is up on the hill there, and North Reading definitely needs it.
Right.
Do you have any input as to how we can go about it? I know it's a federal thing, but...
What happens is if you fill out an application, it's sent to Reading. Reading controls North Reading housing. That's new. They haven't had a manager on site.
I'm not talking about getting into housing. I'm talking about building new senior housing.
Oh.
No, I don't want to go into senior housing until they get a new one.
Oh. Well, that's all right. We'll make room for you. That was federally funded for World War II veterans. They are the first ones that get the choice to go in there, and then the wives, and then it goes to the general public. So that's how that runs. But from what I understand, the government is not doing any more housing. I think it relies on the state if you're getting any money. All right?
So as being on the housing authority, how do we go about
You have to put a group together in the town to present it.
Okay.
All right, that's what's going to happen. You know, like all grants,
Oh, yeah, yep.
you look for a grant, you have to put money up to get the grant.
Yeah, okay.
So that's how that, I would like to pursue it. I will tell you, when the first time I ran, I had mentioned to a few people the ideal spot was next to the police station. All right, for retired type homes. Now you see Wheeler He's now bought the property, and his plan is over 55 housing.
Under the pretense of over 55 housing.
Right.
Which is gonna cost the public $500,000 for a
Probably.
That's not
They're
senior
in a
housing.
business to make money.
Yeah, but that's not senior housing.
No, I know that, but that's,
Sinful that the town-
I was looking at that
Yeah.
spot for the town.
Right.
All right?
Okay.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Now we're going to have the candidates, they're going to be timed, they're going to have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. There will be no questions for them at this point. That'll be saved when we're all done. Okay? When you look at Irene, you're right there, she's holding up the time. If you can read that, I thought it was bold enough, but I'm not sure. I know I'm having a hard time. But she'll announce it.
Yeah, no.
But you just say 3, Irene, you can just say 3 minutes and then show it, okay? Okay, there you go. Fingers, okay. So anyway, so let us continue. All right, now we have, next is for the 2-year term for the Community Planning Commission. This is to finish the term, that the seat that was vacated by their predecessor. And so the rule is you have to be appointed for the remainder of the year, and then after that, depending on how many years are left in that seat, you have to run for office again. In this case, it's 2 years for that seat, and then 2 years they run again for a 3-year term. All right. So the first person that we have is Jonathan Cost.
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 Yes, just
Okay.
silent E.
Right.
I've heard it every different way.
I know. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you to the Republican Town Committee for hosting us tonight. My name is John Cost, and I've been a proud resident of the North Reading for over 18 years. In that time, my family and I have built strong roots, raising 4 children, forging lasting friendships, and developing a deep appreciation for what makes this town such a special place to live. I'm running for the Community Planning Commission, and I would like to give you some reasons to vote for me. North Reading has given so much to my family, and I want to help guide its future. I believe thoughtful, strategic planning today ensures a thriving community for generations to come. The CPC plays a vital role in shaping our town, developing and updating the master plan, ensuring zoning laws support our long-term vision, and carefully reviewing proposed developments for their impact on traffic, the environment, and community character. Balancing progress with preservation is essential. Zoning and land use decisions directly affect daily life, and it's critical that they reflect a shared community vision. Listening carefully to residents, maintaining transparency, and promoting engagement must be central to our work. I also believe we must expand our methods of communication, leveraging social media and other tools to reach more residents, keep the community informed, and encourage broader participation in planning discussions. That's 3? 2. All right. With nearly 2 decades of experience living and raising here, a family here, I believe I bring a grounded perspective and a strong commitment to serving others. As an airline pilot, I practice crew resource management, a collaborative approach that ensures everyone works together toward a shared goal. I believe the same spirit of collaboration is essential for planning our future, especially regarding important matters like compliance with the MBTA zoning law and the continued development of our Main Street area. I look forward to the opportunity to serve and help build a future for North Reading that honors our past while embracing the promise ahead.
Thank you. Next, for the 2-year seat is Edward Sheehan. He was appointed on a 7-2, 7-1 vote to the CPC. Mr. Sheehan.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening. My name is Edward Sheehan. My wife and Renee and I have lived in North Reading for over 13 years. I graduated from the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy in 1992. After receiving my degree, I worked for Walgreens for over 30 years as a pharmacist, a pharmacy manager, and a district pharmacy supervisor. In 2021, I started my own pharmacy. Over the past few years, I became more and more interested in the town's government and began attending meetings of the CPC and Select Board, either in person or via YouTube. When a position opened up in 2024 for the CPC, I decided to complete an application to be considered. I reached out to the CPC and select board members, offering to speak with them ahead of time. Some took advantage of that. I had some good conversations. On November 18th, I was appointed by a 7-to-1 vote. During my time on the CPC, we've dealt with some major issues, most notably the MBTA and the ADUs. You may not agree with me on my position, or you may, but my thought process is always taking into account what the response, sorry, 2 minutes, okay. You know, the way I do it is I talk to the residents, take that all in, and weigh the pros and cons and make decisions that way. No doubt the state is going to be back with more mandates in the future. My responsibility will be to identify the pros and cons of how they impact the people of North Reading and the town in its entirety. I will do more than listen. I will bring your opinions to the discussion of the CPC. You will be pleased that you have a member on the CPC who will fight back against government overreach. In me, you will have a member who will represent the whole of North Reading. With this in mind, I respectfully ask for your vote on May 6th.
Thank you. Next is the chairman for the Community Planning Commission, David Ludlow.
It's usually Warren that's the chair, so I snuck in and got that. Hey everyone, my name is Dave Rudloff. I'm seeking a third term on the CPC. I've lived in North Reading for 16 years. Sorry. I've lived in North Reading for 16 years. My lovely wife Noelle is over here, the school committee. We have 2 daughters, ages 12 and 14, that are in North Reading Public Schools. 6 years ago, when I volunteered for the CPC, there was a position open, so I feel or believe then, as I do now, that I have some skills that would help or be at value to the CPC in both design, construction, and development. That's more my background. So I did it. It's been very rewarding working with many of you that are here. Warren has been a wonderful person. I know him personally, but also just on the committee. It's a treasure that we've had Warren, 33 years, Warren, I think, on the CPC. So I know this mic time's mine, but I almost want to give Warren some applause too, just for his commitment with my only 6 years. But with the last 6 years, we've dealt with a lot of different business. How am I doing, Irene? But nothing has been probably as controversial and as consequential as the MBTA Commuters Act. And it's occupied the CPC's time probably for at least the last term, the last 3 years. So I take it very seriously. I want everybody to know. But I approach this problem, which is very unique law, but I approach that problem like I do every piece of business that comes before me, and that is I investigate, I try to learn about the problem, I go visit the parcels, no matter what the application is, I meet the people, I ask questions, and then I ultimately have to vote with the information that I have. And so that can evolve, but that's how I approach everything, and I just commit to you that I'm going to continue to do that if you elect me for a third term. Thank you.
Following Mr. Rudloff is Warren Pierce. Warren Pierce is the vice chairman of the CPC.
Yes, thank you, Jeff, for putting this together for us. About 33 years ago, a selectman by the name of Ernie Doucette showed up at my work and said, "I got a job for you. Would you mind running for the planning board?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And he's like, "We really need somebody on there." So somehow or other, 33 years later, I'm still there. So he was a very convincing guy. One of the things that we all hear a lot is people talk about this town in a loving way. I mean, they say this is a great community. It's we want to keep it rural. We want to keep the way it is now. We don't want to make too many major changes. But we do have to do some changes. We got to grow some, and we're going to do that. But I'd like to point out that that rural character that we still have 33 years later is the result of not just me, but all the members of the planning boards that I've worked with over the years have had the same dedication to trying to make sure this town holds on to its identity as best possible. It's not always been easy, and this MBTA thing doesn't help any, but again, it's something that we're probably going to have to do because it is a law. But the thanks to go to all these other planning board members who, through all the years, are the ones that made sure that today we still have the kind of community that we wanted to have. I just want to make a quick note about the properties that we looked at with the MBTA thing. The properties over off with Edgewood and Martin's Landing. That property, when we got it from the state, was given to the planning board, looked at it and said, oh boy, here we go. It's a big piece of property, it's nowhere near any other housing, so this would be a great commercial development. So we tried to do that. We put it out for bids, and we really didn't get any takers. So thank you. So since we didn't get any takers, the next thing we know is the real estate agents. We hired actually professional real estate agents, commercial ones, and they said, we got housing but nothing else. So we ended up taking that for the money as well, of needing the housing. And the same thing happened with Martin's Landing. So we haven't had any really good opportunities to get some real great commercial growth, but we're looking forward to maybe getting some of that in the future. So I thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing how this all comes out.
So the CPC race is uncontested. Now we're up to the school committee, which is also uncontested. And the first one to speak will be Jeff Friedman.
Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Friedman. I'm running for my second term on the school committee. I'm an attorney, I work for a software company, and my wife and I have lived in town with our 12-year-old daughter for the past 10 years. So I guess I'm relatively a newbie compared to a number of people here. I will say through the course of my career, which I'm not going to get into because it's really boring, there are a few lessons you learn that you bring to a school committee, or you bring to the board. And for me, there are a couple of things that I've learned. One is something that we really strive to do on the board, is try and make data-driven decisions. One thing that you'll find if you go to our meetings, when we talk about budget, when we talk about the cuts that have been made, which have been really quite striking, when we talk about negotiating contracts, all of it is data-driven. And to the best of our ability, we take input from everybody in the town as to what priorities are. We try our best to make decisions that are right for the town, but more importantly, right for the kids. So when we say, hey, we've got to make tough decisions, we generally do that based on all of the evidence that's available, and then we make decisions that are difficult. We just recently did our best to reduce the cuts to our staff. We're now around 7 cuts. Still devastating, still very, very difficult, but we do so with the best interests of kids at heart. The second thing I would say is we talk a lot about how do we find common ground between different groups. I would change that discussion a little bit and say we need to find alignment when it comes to things like budget. Budget isn't about, hey, let's agree on a few things, but we'll disagree on a few others. A budget like ours, when you're talking about budget gaps, has to be done in such a way that the whole town is seeing as, yeah, these are difficult times. We're short. We started off being short by about $1.5 million. We've brought that down, but we did so with a lot of hard work and a lot of alignment across board. So whoever on the select board ends up coming on, the people that are already there on select board and across the town, it really has to be alignment, because without that, you're not going to see a lot of success in the schools. So the only thing I'd leave us with is thank you all for your participation. Thank you all for being here. It doesn't work without all of you, but the hard work that we have to do ultimately has to be driven by the data that we see, and ultimately has to be done with alignment across groups. So thank you.
Next is the better half, Noel Rudloff.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. It's a little snug. For those of you who don't know me, although I see a lot of friendly faces out here, I'm Noelle Rudloff. I guess you could call me a lifelong resident of North Reading. I grew up here. I'm a product of the school system. I did leave for a bit, but I came back, and I brought that guy over there with me. So as a lifelong resident of North Reading, I can say here, beware the kiddies pour, because it's high and deep and it will get you in trouble. Anyhow, okay, so I just wanted to reflect a little bit on my first 3 years with the school committee. It's been really a learning process, and I realize I've learned a lot about what the role is of school committee and what the role is not. Our role is really to vote on the budget, set policy. Our role is not to set curriculum. Some school committees, school boards maybe have more involvement in curriculum, things like that, but we really are the policy budget folks. Some of the focus areas that are important to me as a school committee member and will remain so are trying to focus on the idea of supporting all students. Our mandate is to educate all students, and that can be done through different programs that we have, MTSS, Universal Learning Design. That's just areas of interest and passion for me. I think it's very important to keep North Reading a center of academic excellence and excellence in the arts, because I think those two things go hand in hand. Obviously, we're in a huge current challenge right now because of the budget, and I think there's a lot that needs to be done to improve, and we are working on it as we speak. Communication with the community about what the budget's looking like, where the shortfalls are, what we need from the community. And you will start to, I think, see some improved communication there. But it has been a painful process, and I'm sure there'll be some questions around that. I don't want to take all of my 3 minutes on that, because apparently I only have 1 minute left. But moving forward, priorities will continue to be how to continue to have excellent schools, and keeping our kids in district. A lot of our money is going to out-of-district spending because of a huge elevation of needs for special education or things that we can't meet in district. And as everyone sees, there are a lot of increasing challenges with educating kiddos, and I want to focus on trying to keep these kiddos in town. And I did it in under 3 minutes. Cheers.
Thank you. Okay, now we are at the select board. There are 4 candidates running for office. The first one to speak will be Richard Wallner.
Good evening.
No questions at this time. We'll have a Q&A after this.
Ready to jump at me, huh? Good evening. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Rich Wallner. I'm running for my 3rd term as a select board member, and I'm seeking your support in a contested contest. I do not seek your support out of popularity or promises. Rather, I seek it based on my extensive volunteer and professional experience combined with a significant list of accomplishments, plus my vision of what to do if I'm re-elected. As a select board member, I have approached my role as a fiduciary. Simply put, I am obligated to act in the best interest of the town. It is not about me, it is about you. I fulfill this obligation by studying the issues, listening to the voices of my colleagues and citizens, deliberating with an open mind, and by making recommendations and votes that are pragmatic based on my vast experience in leadership roles. Let me share some lessons I have learned about our town that have influenced my thinking. The best way we can support our schools is to support our seniors. Our seniors are nothing less than benefactors to our schools. For example, to send just one child to our school requires property taxes from 3 average homes. Typically, these two empty nester homes are seniors where 2/3 of their property taxes go to the schools. As a result, it is very important that we keep our seniors in their homes so we can maintain our current balanced ecosystem. Not only is this a fiscal necessity for our schools, but it is also the right thing to do since our seniors help build our great town. Did you already give me 2 minutes? 2 minutes, okay. So the 2 big things I've done, just gonna go off to 2 big. 2 big things I've done for the seniors to help them is the biggest issues they have is property taxes, is high property taxes and transportation. How will we met that need? Gail Manning and I worked on, with the tax aid committee, to create a circuit breaker match program that will underwrite and keep about 500 of our seniors in our town who are the most fiscally challenged. And the second biggest thing that seniors have always talked about is transportation options. And how have I dealt with that? Created a transportation committee, and now the options we provide seniors is more than we've ever had before. So that's how we deal with seniors. I think I have 1 minute left. I'm skipping a lot of stuff here. Regarding our budget crisis, which will only get worse over time, it appears short-term answers are not going to win the day. We must think long-term. While the previous proposal to create wastewater lines throughout Main Street failed in committee, we still have 2 opportunities to explore: extending the Andover line into our North Main Street area without changing infrastructure, and exploring the viability of more affordable package treatment plants with Warren. I look forward to doing that. In summary, I have been honored to serve our town and proud of the many positive things that I've done to accomplish this goal, and remain committed to do even more to improve our lives and community. I hope you will join me in voting on Tuesday, May 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Next up is Michael Scarlato.
Thank you to the North Reading Republican Town Committee for hosting tonight's candidates forum. My name is Mike Scarlato, candidate for Select Board. I currently reside at Martin's Landing. I'm a graduate of the PV school system in 1983 and a graduate of Bentley University 1987 with a degree in economics and finance. I've worked with several financial firms and educational companies during my career, like Fidelity Investments, Wellington Management, City Year, and Bright Horizons. In each of those roles, my experience includes budget analysis, financial analysis, and financial management. These skills I will bring to the Select Board. Before announcing my run for the Select Board, I attended every Select Board meeting since the last election, both strategic planning sessions, all budget hearings and workshops. This allowed me to gain a tremendous amount of knowledge and insight on the issues affecting North Reading. To further my knowledge of North Reading, I thought it would be super important to meet several town and state officials, business owners, and residents. I've had meetings with Fire Chief Don Statz, school committee members Tim Sutherland and Jeff Friedman, former Select Board member Joe Foti, current Select Board members Nick Massey, Chairman Vincenzo Studo, and Senior Center Director Kim Manzelli. I also organized several in-person meetings with residents of Park Colony, Martin's Landing, and Peabody Court. And I've met several business owners up and down Main Street. The most effective way to understand the issues and concerns of the residents is to power down your laptop and venture out into the neighborhoods and meet the residents face to face. Talk to them, allow them to ask you questions, offer your insights and opinions, and have a conversation. As of today, I've knocked on 1,600 residential doors. Residents have invited me into their homes, spoke to me on their doorsteps and in their yards. It's been a rewarding experience that I will never forget. I've met hundreds of wonderful neighbors who truly care about the well-being of our town. In my opinion, if one wants to represent the town, it is essential to make every effort possible to meet the residents. If I am fortunate to be elected to the Select Board, I will hold semi-annual constituent meetings at the Flynn Library or Senior Center for the purpose of continuing discussions with the residents. I will invite 1 or 2 of the Select Board members to join me. Conversations need to be ongoing. Conversations shouldn't end after Election Day. All Select Board members receive a .gov email address. Residents have concerns about the lack of communication from the department heads and the Select Board. Emails at times are sent go unanswered. I pledge to, whenever an email is sent my way, I will respond within 48 hours. Constituent services is important to me. It builds trust with our residents. No one should be ignored. In closing, I want to ensure that everyone, and I mean everyone, will have a seat at the table, regardless of party affiliation, economic status, or walk of life. Every resident deserves a voice in shaping our future. North Reading must work together in a collaborative and meaningful way to achieve the best results for all. I'm ready to lead that effort. I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next up is Catherine Moore.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
It's good? Is it on?
Yep, it's on.
Okay, great. My name is Catherine Morin, and I'm a candidate for the Select Board. Kind of give you a brief introduction to myself. My family and I moved to North Reading 10 years ago, so I'm like brand new here. My kids are attending public school, and my family and I are actively involved in the community through volunteering. I'm a professional interior designer, and I work in Boston primarily with diverse private and public sector clients. The state of Massachusetts has been my client for the last 25 years. So I understand how municipalities and states run business. One key aspect of my work is building consensus among project stakeholders. And everyone brings a unique perspective, and then my job is to reconcile the needs and the wants and the budgets, and what we can afford and what would be nice to have and what we can plan for the future, phase 1, phase 2, and so on. So I'd like to bring that expertise of listening to people and asking probing questions to this position of the Select Board. I think being able to bring diverse opinions together is a positive. I think out of conflict there could be resolution, and conflict for the sake of conflict is not going to get us anywhere. So one thing that no one is going to be surprised to hear is we're facing a critical challenge, right? We have an acute problem with the current budget. We're broke, effectively, and we really need to make some hard decisions about how we're going to meet our fiscal obligations for next year. The bigger issue, though, is I think the issue we have with the current budget is a systemic problem. This is not the first year it's happened, and it's not going to be the last year it happens until we find a way to balance our revenue and our spending. And as long as our revenue is derived primarily from residential taxpayers, we're going to continue having these conversations. So I think one thing that is going to be critically important longer term is to create economic development on Main Street. And a few people alluded to that, bringing down the sewer from 28 or standing up another wastewater treatment plant like there's one in a high school. We need to bring more businesses into town. We need to keep the town's money in town so people are not going out to Reading and Linfield and Middleton and nearby towns. And we need to do that with the community support. We can't do it by arguing. We can't do it by pointing fingers. We need to come together, and as Jeff said, we need to align together on what is important for the town. We want to keep the town character. No one's looking to build skyscrapers here, but we can't survive if we don't get some more money coming in. It's all about the budget.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Last up is Mr. Jeff Griffin.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say thanks to Kitties. I want to... Hello? All right, I touched the button. Sorry. I just want to say thank you to Kitties for having us tonight. Thank you to the North Reading Republican Town Committee. I also want to say the last time we all kind of met was with the Democratic Town Committee. I wanted to say thank you again to them because we had a really good time. I'm going to read off a paper, which I don't normally do because I know I can get this in 3 minutes. Because anybody who knows me knows I can't do anything in 3 minutes. My name is Jeff Griffin. My family and I have been proud to call North Reading our home for the past 20 years. I own and operate a small business here in town and have had the opportunity to connect with the people of North Reading for many years. After hearing and learning about the issues that affect our citizens every day, I was inspired to get involved. She knows who she is. So I was inspired to get involved. Becoming a Community Planning Commission member has allowed me to serve our community and gain a deeper understanding in how our town government works and functions. Some of my involvement as a resident, business owner, and CPC member include, and these are just some of the things, thank you, these are just some of the things that I have been involved with over the many years here. I probably won't have enough time to get to all of them. Reviewing many planning and zoning projects, gathering on-site information from multiple town developments, attending countless select board meetings. Select board members know that because I'm always taking notes there. I was involved in supporting a few things here in town over the years. Little League stuff for the kids, Apple Fest, tree lighting, Damon Tavern things, random acts of kindness to our police and fire departments. We're involved with that. But some of the things are bringing transparency to the MBTA law, working to amend accessory dwelling unit state law, voting to the approval and donating town land, which I don't know if many of you know, Habitat for Humanity, thank you, is going to now build property here. I feel that my service to the community will be multifaceted, fair, and innovative. My ability to manage, finance, people, projects, and deadlines while maintaining transparency in government is very important. We need solid leadership. I will always be available and open to discuss any issues. I'm a reachable person, and I strive to listen with patience and receptivity. My vision for North Reading is robust. Many ideas and perspectives have been discussed over the years. We must come to the conversation with an open-minded and clear-headed approach to build a better North Reading. I hope you will consider voting for me on May 6th. I earnestly do care about this town that has given my family a wonderful 20-plus years. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to keep making a difference in 01864. I always say North Reading first, and you can reach out to me anytime. I'm committed and determined. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the introductions. First, there are two things here before we proceed to the Q&A. All right? Technically, three things. First of all, I want to announce that this past Sunday, former Select Board member, town resident, Joseph Vino has passed away. For those of you who do not know Joe was very active in the town and a very caring person about how the town grew and how if the town was safe. And it was always, you know, his famous quote is, "You know I'm a straight shooter." That's what he'd always say, and he was. I served with him on a select board 1 year, and we became good friends. So, and we were on the opposite ends of the discussions at that time, but we come close. And I know everybody here, Warren, John, Chuck here, know, and everyone else is new by comparison. He put a lot of time of his personal time to the town. So what I would like to do is have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, before we proceed, I want to let you know that, you know, due to the graciousness of people donating to the scholarship fund that the North Reading Republican Town Committee has, this is our 12th anniversary of the fund. Because of that generosity, contributors like you, we can offer a $1,000 scholarship for this year. had not been for those contributions last year at this time and throughout the year. And we hope to increase that. Our goal is to become a 501c3, so we can increase it dramatically for our students. The scholarship is paid directly to the educational institution chosen by the recipient, so it doesn't go to the committee. What we do is we have a line item, and all the funds are in that line item on our budget. Students must reside in North Reading. They can be homeschooled or go to 4-year trade schools. We added that last year. And when the cost is paid by the student, it is the North Reading Republican Town Committee's hope the scholarship will be a 501c3. So, with regard to tonight and the Q&As, our goal here is to be the vehicle to connect the candidates to the voters of North Reading. It will be live streamed, as you know, on our Facebook page. It's being live streamed right now, and recorded and be delayed forecast on NORCAM. So, if you would be kind, we're going to pass a basket around, and feel free to contribute to the scholarship fund. I appreciate that. Thank you. In the meantime, now we can go to the Q&As. This is the exciting part. Okay. You have 2 mics there, right? You only have one? You have one? Okay. Now, I know I'm holding 2. So let's put it on the side for now. I'm going to come around. Oh, I know what. Give me that. You guys work with the one. Okay, so we're going to open this up to questions and hopefully get answers that you're looking for. But this is the one thing I do not want to happen. Okay? We don't need rah-rah cheering and all that kind of stuff, because as I said, this is for you to learn. This is an opportunity to find out what they're all about. You don't need to be cheering like, my guy's better than your guy kind of a thing. I really don't want that going on here. You can applaud, that's fine, but let's be respectful to one another, and let's get to the issues more than anything else. Okay? What? Yeah, you can do 2 minutes to answer the question. Your answers should be succinct, direct, so we're not here all night. You guys do that at the meetings, right? I don't want that to happen here. So, any questions? You go right ahead, sir.
My first question is for
Hold on.
My first question is for the school committee candidates. I know that I may not have the figures exactly right, but I think like 2/3 of the town budget goes to the schools, and 80% of that goes to salaries. What attempt have you made to keep salaries increases in line with 2.5?
So there are a couple of challenges there. One is keeping it in line with 2.5%. The other is keeping it in alignment with the rest of the community of schools. When you look at our salaries across all our educators, we're actually slightly below the averages in the state. Also true with our overall budget. I'm not aware of any. In fact, I can't think of any 3 or 4 schools. There are probably a couple that have stayed within 2.5%. The problem with that is. There it is. The issue we face is one that you've seen across towns: Woburn, Haverhill, Andover, to name a few that have gone on strike. Is to make sure our kids stay in school without being on strike, without getting losing educational opportunities, but at the same time, we want to make sure we have fair contracts for our educators. We've had contentious negotiations, and we've had ones that aren't contentious. We try as best we can to stay within our budgetary limits, but I will say very frankly that I tend to doubt we're going to be offering large increases over the next year. I will almost guarantee you that is going to cause issues in these negotiations. I'm not saying that with any glee. I'm not saying that with any form of recrimination or anything against the educators. It's just the budget we're in. So what I think you're going to see is we're going to try very hard to stay within our limits. 2.5% is a very difficult thing to get into without seeing a strike, but I think you're going to see more of that more contentiousness in these negotiations as we move forward.
That's great. I mean, he answered it for sure. I mean, Jeff is a perfect person to answer this because he's been part of he's on the finance committee, and he's also, or subcommittee, I should say, and he's also been part of the negotiation teams. So, yeah, we've seen in the communities around us, the strikes, the kids being out of school, and obviously we have to work within the rubric of what we've been given, and that's negotiating with unions. I do always want to tip my hat to the finance team at as part of the administrative team. Because they do a really remarkable job, and if you ever care to attend a school committee meeting, I think you would be really impressed with the number of the management of the numbers.
Thank you. Now I'll ask, does anybody running for the select board have a question or answer? Want to answer that question as well? You don't have to, but there's a, as I said, we're entwined, so.
Look at money.
They got the money, you need it. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Wallner, you said that you were going to go look into extending the sewer from Andover to, does that mean that you're going to ask for more money that we've already spent? I want to say $3.9 million on the study of the sewer. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
I think it was 3 million.
Okay,
But I think it's a whole different situation. There's already a pipe that's in Andover that comes down as far as the Japanese restaurant, right? So I've already learned from property owners that are in our town that they could potentially extend the pipe into North Main Street without any major infrastructure change. So the question is, how far can we go down Main Street without asking Andover to make a major infrastructure change? So we can try to at least create that opportunity.
Okay, but in regards to people in Andover, they don't want it. I mean, you know, and I'm going to say, we have negotiated with Andover for their water. We're buying water from Andover. Now you're asking Andover to go through the town, and there's certain areas of Andover that they can't go through, and I know this for a fact, okay? And going over 125 or 114, whatever it is, they can't do. Okay? So what are the other alternatives? And to say we're going to spend $3 million more to study this, and then maybe we'll put it in.
It's not a $3 million study.
Oh, okay.
It's not changing Andover's infrastructure. And when we negotiated our 99-year contract with the water, part of that was to have cooperation on the sewage, and that's always been out there. So, you know, it's the whole point is this low impact. But if for some reason we find out it's going to be cost prohibitive, it won't happen. But we have to explore it. If we don't ask the question, we're never going to find out.
All right, anybody on the select board?
Thank you, Jeff. You know, Rich and I are in alignment with this with respect to the sewer extension from Andover. You know, as I mentioned in my website and in various conversations, we only have a 6% commercial tax base here. That's extremely low. It's anemic. If you look at Linfield, they're at 15%. Andover next door is at 11%. So one of the reasons, and I've asked this question many times, is the reason why Joe Fish is gone and Papagino's is gone is because they don't want to deal with the septic tanks. They don't want to deal with the maintenance and the cost and the turnover. It's a huge expense. Horseshoe, down the street here, I spoke to the owner. They have to change their septic tank over, and it's going to cost them $250,000. That's an enormous expense for a business, especially a restaurant. So we got to figure out ways to bring in sewer, because this is what the restaurants want, and some of the other owners. If you look at 35 Main Street, there's 7 office spaces, only 2 are occupied. So we have spaces here that are empty. We can't just continue as is. So, and the other thing and Rich said it as well, is the package treatment plants. We got to explore that. We have one behind the high school, and it caters to the riders area. So that's another opportunity that we can look at as well. Those are my thoughts.
I also have some thoughts too, because I've had the luxury of talking to Warren many times, and Dave, about this very subject. And I think part of the big problem with North Reading is when the sewer plan came out, it was delivered not in the greatest way, I guess, and it was very confusing, and the people of the town didn't know what to think, they didn't know what to believe. Facebook was saying one thing, the town officials were saying another. Nobody really understood the things like the betterment, things like that, and how that worked. So you had all this stuff coming at everyone. Well, we're still paying for a $130 million school, so to add $130 million sewer pipe on top of that, that was very overwhelming. So in conversations with Warren and Dave, what I think could work, and especially we need to tap into guys like that, because these guys understand the land better than anybody. This is what they do. This is their thing. They're very important people. And so we have to lean on them for their expertise. So I know Warren has mentioned package plants. Even Dave has talked about it. If we just compartmentalize and we just kind of take little sections and pieces and put it together for the better of the town, and however that develops and however we accomplish that, and there'll be many discussions, but you can't take a $130 million package and just lay it on the townspeople, because they're always going to say no. It's too much money. But if you did a $50 million or a $42 million or something, whatever it costs, those are not real numbers, that's just me throwing it out there. The town might be a little more receptive to saying, okay, well, that makes sense. We'll take a little piece now, we'll develop that section, we can do it through a treatment plant. Oh, okay, no, I'm going to honor that. And so those are my thoughts on it, and those are some of the ideas that these gentlemen and myself have kicked around for a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually completely agree. It's like the chicken or the egg. We need more money, and we're not going to get it by looking for grants and adding more fees to the schools. Like, we can plug little holes, but we need to plug a huge hole. And I think the treatment plant is a robust idea, and it does not prevent us from doing a sewer later if we decide to do that. Because I think, Warren, right, we've already done the studies and we've done all of that background work. So if we did stand up a treatment plant for commercial development on Main Street and actually got some businesses in, that could help us. It could be like the big bandage before we can get a little bit more money in. Warren, do you want to leave one here?
I'm going to direct this towards the Community Planning Commission now.
Yeah, the sewer thing is a difficult thing. For 15 years, I was on the wastewater advisory committee, and we looked at all the different ways. We did a matrix of the whole town to determine the areas of need, and calculated out what we would need to take care of the basic lines, which would be Concord Street, Main Street, and the pond area. And we actually did soil testing over where Edgewood is now, or where Martin's Landing is. Some of the discharge area that we had over there, we ended up giving to Martin's Landing, but we do have some more land over there we could use. We also got $100,000 from the postal facility, which we used to buy a piece of land out behind Edgewood, where we could put a treatment plant. This has already all been done. We also did soil testing over behind the DPW to find another discharge site. So we had identified enough discharge sites to handle approximately 500,000 gallons, so we could take care of Concord Street, so we could take Concord Street and Main Street and so forth. So there's a whole lot more to this. I don't think I can get it all out in a minute. I was waiting for everybody else to finish, and then I could just fill this in. You're not going to be able to hook up to Andover and go that way for any amount, because even Andover doesn't have gravity from there. They have a lift station down on Rattlesnake Hill Road. And the best that we could do would be to take some of 28, a little bit of it, and then put it into that lift station. But we'd have to model, again, there an infrastructure, like I said, we'd have to beef that infrastructure up. So that lift station could handle additional flows and send it all off to the GLSD, which is Greater Lawrence Sewer District, to the treatment plant. So there's quite a lot to it. Okay. There's, so anyway, there is a whole plan that was done. There's a book. I recently showed it to Joe Parisi from our town, he's very literate on sewer. So we're going to look that over and see if we can put some pricing on it and give you a good idea of what we can do. For now, that's all I can get.
I don't have a lot to add to that, but I would just say that I think we were a little bit too aggressive in going down Concord Street with the sewer project. For me, that's one of our, we have 400 acres of industrial, commercial property that they call in the industrial zone. There's one on Lowell and there's one on Concord. And we have great established businesses down on Concord that do not need sewer. So I think it was a fool's errand to run it down there to increase the cost of the project, and that turned people off. I mean, again, it was a great distance where we had to travel to run this line, but I do think it should have just stopped on Main Street. It shouldn't have gone up Concord. I don't know how much that would have cut off it, but for a package treatment plant on Concord, if it would help things, that's something to look at, but that would not be the first thing I would look at. I'd look at Main Street. That's the key area that we have to try to improve for places and businesses that have high sewer, high water type uses, and that would draw them in.
I just want to add, I do agree that this lack of sewer is a rate limiting factor on trying to get commercial development. So I agree. Small incremental steps, as Mr. Griffin mentioned, is certainly something worth exploring. It's something that needs to be done, and as the last one got shot down because the cost was too extreme, I think the smaller piece, doing it smaller sections at a time, would be more amenable to the town and the way to go.
And I'm gonna, for lack of sounding like a broken record, I agree with everybody. There's an expression: it takes money to make money. I think we need to make an investment into the package treatment plants to start, smaller bites of the apple. And speaking with Warren, it seems as though once those are kind of in place, that's a big piece of the infrastructure, and then the big expense of bringing sewer in after the fact is a much smaller expense at that point, unless I got that wrong in my conversation with you the other night.
That's correct.
Yeah, so once those are in place, and as Warren said, there's a few locations in town that have already been surveyed for that, then at least we've got the ball rolling.
Thank you. So that was a great question, because that question entwined everybody here. You have a...
Believe it or not,
Okay, let's see.
this is not school committee weighing in on septic, because no knowledge in that department. This is me kind of asking a follow-up question as a voter, if that's allowed. It's related.
Go ahead.
Okay. I appreciate and understand and am behind the value of a package treatment plant or whatever to increase the ability for us to bring in commercial development. It's essential. We need to build our commercial tax base. However, I do have a concern that it's like this golden vision on the hill that when we have septic, everything's going to be better, right? It's all going to happen, and I don't see that. I think there needs to be, in concert with that, there needs to be a little bit of a creative outlook or effort or business development on like, okay, like, is there a vision? Like, where is that coming from? And I always use the example of Middleton. Middleton does not have sewer, but yet somehow Middleton, and I know it's a different town, I know they have different land, everything, but they seem to have a little bit more of a vision along some of their commercial districts, and they are managing to attract restaurants, things like that, without sewer. So I just wonder, is there a way that we can not just see this as like this golden solution on the hill, but creative thoughts moving forward? If anyone has feedback on that, or I just wanted to throw that out there, and thank you, Jeff, for letting me speak.
You're welcome. Now, just to clarify, I think you misspoke. You said sewer, the dream of soup. You meant the dream of septic, but you meant sewer.
Yeah, sorry.
Right,
Again,
right.
not my department. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, at one point we did do a study to see what kind of increase in tax base we would have if we sewered a Main Street. And you are correct, it would be incremental. It's not something that would happen overnight. It would be incremental as people realize, or as businesses realize that we had that sewer available. But there are some properties, for example, the Walmart property is in dire need, has been for a long time, to have some kind of a sewer system hooked up there. And then, of course, across the street, you've got the old Stop Shop building, and we got something we might be able to do with that at some point. Whether we do it or a private developer does it, they're going to need that. So there are some areas, but I just want to also caution you that when you start this whole thing and you set up a sewer district, you have to get an act of the legislature, creates your commission, and that commission has the ability to bill and collect, money and everything, and attach properties if they don't get paid for it. But that's all done by the users of the system, not by people who live on some street uptown here. So. So it's not quite so simple. So.
Okay, but excuse me, but isn't your question more to the point that what Middleton is doing and capable of doing, getting businesses to go into their town, and they had a vision, all right, and so isn't that really where your question is?
I think that we need to look at this in a really holistic way. And thank you, master plan. And so I use the example of Middleton not to contrast negatively, but they seem to have, without sewer, right? Yeah, without sewer, been able to continue to attract business. So my thought is, like, I just don't want the town mentality to be like, okay, as soon as we get that, all of our problems are going to be solved. It's part of a master plan.
One more item on that is that once you start down this road, the DEP gets involved in any sewer that you start putting around here. You're going to have to include the pond because it's an environmentally sensitive area, and the DEP will require that your plan includes sewering of that area.
The big problem on Route 28 is the depth is 100. The big problem on Route 28, the depth of the building lots are 120 feet off of Route 28. You're not going to attract anybody at 120 feet to build something. Also, the town voted 3 lots off of Route 28 that were commercial. They voted them to become residential. And one of them was 1,000 foot back. The town decided they would rather have houses. All right? So that's what you're up against. It's the depth on Route 28.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, let's move on. Jody?
Sorry. This one, oh, I'm probably touched the button too. This one's for school committee. No. I'm sorry.
It's on, but
This one's for school committee again. Noelle, you mentioned trying to reduce costs of out-of-district placements. Is there a plan in place for that, or like what are the objectives of that particular goal to cut costs?
thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. That is something I have mentioned because that is something that I would like to focus on moving forward. And I've brought it up at meetings before. I think you can agree that the district is pretty forward-thinking in terms of dealing with cost special education. But just over the past few years, even since COVID, we have seen just the out-of-district placements explode. And there's many reasons for that. It's kids that aren't being able to get what they need service-wise in North Reading. And we have, had this discussion at town meetings and things before where you say like, oh, when I was younger, we did it this way. Kids have significantly, and their needs have significantly changed. They just have. There's more intellectual learning, emotional issues with kids. And if you don't see it, then just look around a little bit. But I think that what's happened is it's really increased over the last few years. So your question about a plan, Jody, that's something that I have as a goal myself moving forward. Is something that I would like to see focused on. The district definitely has it in mind, and as I was saying before, one of our roles as school committee is to set policy, and that's something that I'm going to aim for focusing on over the next 3 years.
Just so people understand, the out of district placements has gone up between 10 and 15% year on year for the last 2 years. Doesn't look like that's slowing down, so we are already above the previous averages of the last 10 years or so. Combine that with the fact that increased costs in transportation, all the fun budget stuff that we've gone through in the past bunch of months, those costs have gone way up. We've talked about working with other districts to create micro programs to work with specific students. We've looked at, can we create new programs within our own district? As of yet, we haven't found a good solution, to be quite honest. And as Noelle was saying, problems with creating these programs is they're very individualized. And out of district placements, they have greater resources to handle more diverse issues. So I will say, and I will echo what Noelle's saying, this is something we need to continue to look at because it's not going to be sustainable. We either have to come up with something collaboratively with other districts or within our district, or we're going to have to deal with, again, it's more funding issues because, again, we don't want to get into the circuit breaker discussion and how all that works, but it's just not a great situation to be in.
I just want to mention one thing really quick in terms of what Jeff was saying. We have, as everyone knows, there have been budget cuts, and some of the cuts have affected. You see early education interventionalists, people who are capturing kids who are in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. If we can catch those kids when they're young, then we can prevent down the road those kids in middle school and high school perhaps needing a more expensive educational program. But by being short-sighted and getting rid of, it's like, why do we need these extra people in the classroom? Well, isn't the teachers enough? But having these interventions early is going to save us resources down the line. And
I just want to add one thing to that. The early intervention is really, really important. And I don't know if a lot of folks know that if you don't have kids in school now. But the schools have what the kids call it the feelings teacher. It's SEL, right? And they act as like this early stage counselors to the kids, and it's a very open environment. And some of the schools have the service dogs that have come in, and it's different, and the kids can really relate to that. My kids came home and they go, "Oh, I had a hard day today." I'm like, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "I just talked to Miss Petrie. She's moved on to another school, but we have another feelings teacher." He goes, "Oh, I just wanted to talk to Miss Petrie and I'm good now." And I'm like, oh, "Do you want to tell me what you talked to Miss Petrie about?" He goes, "No, she's the feelings teacher, Mom. I got it." And I'm like, "Okay." So it's really important to have that early in elementary schools, because later on, if kids today have so much anxiety because they have so much more information they're not prepared to process. We have 10-year-olds who go, "Let's talk about global warming, Mom." I'm like, "Let's go to bed because it's time for you to brush your teeth." But they're anxious about that, and having those adults in place to help them, because sometimes the parents are not enough. They want to hear it from a place of authority and someone who is prepared to deal with those questions at a very age-appropriate level. So those positions are so important, and we really need to keep them to prevent future issues down the road.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting over there. I know, I see that. I'm going to go with this young lady first. I see that. You jump up and down.
Hi, everybody. My name is Beth, and there we go. Is it working?
Just take your hand away from the button.
Tell me what to do. I get the microphone and I mess it up.
That's right.
All right, I won't touch anything.
Aren't you a professional engineer?
I am. So it seems across the board that the number one issue that we have is budget. We don't have enough money, okay? We're spending more than we're bringing in. A huge part of that is because we're depending mostly on residential taxes, right? We need more commercial taxes. We're all talking about the sewer. We are already cutting schools. We're not building a senior center. We're already talking, we still municipal stuff that we have to pay for. All this we have to pay for. Yet, the townspeople, and I understand why, do not particularly care for the idea of raising taxes at all. But how are we going to pay for any of this if we're not willing to bring forth another tax override? What are we cutting? Who's deciding what we're cutting? We obviously have a huge budget issue if we're cutting anything that involves special education. So what is the plan? Are those of you, especially, I think the select board is probably the people to answer this question most, are you willing to put forth another potential tax increase? Because we're going to have to invest in this sewer to get the commercial. I mean, how are we paying for it?
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 So the question is, how are we going to pay for all the things we want? Pretty much, right?
Where's the money coming from?
Right. Well, where's the money coming from? Yeah.
Beth, is it good?
Yes.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the question. So, with respect to the override, it doesn't appear to be that there will be an override at this fiscal year. But so when I was a non-select board candidate or select board member, I was against the 2.5 override. And it was for in my case, a personal reason.
Okay.
And I reached out to a number of people, and they were against it as well. And when you saw the vote, it was defeated, 57 to 43. But as a candidate and a potential select board member, it has to be on the table, right? I can't rule it out. But I have to understand the root cause as to why we have deficit spending on the municipal side and the school side. Now, I understand by talking to Jeff and Tim that one of the drivers was the health insurance was huge. Thankfully, the select board has now gone to a different provider, so we'll do some cost savings there. And then obviously, contractual obligations is another concern as a driver for this. But I have to make sure that the 2.5 override has to be the last resort. I have to really dive deep into the finances to understand what is going on. Why are our expenses exceeding our revenues? So when I talk with the school committee, the town administrator, Dr. Daly, if I have to get an understanding of what's happening and then make a determination as to if the Prop 2.5 override is necessary or is there other ways to do this? But everything's on the
Then
table.
how do you think you could compel people? How do you think you could compel people to?
Hold on, I want to keep it to that
Sorry,
one
sorry,
question
I
because
don't-
I want the others to have the same
Fair
input
enough.
on the same question.
So those are my comments.
Thank you.
You got that?
Okay, so how are we gonna pay for that, right? The school budget is like 230 pages, and it's a beast. You gotta read like every line, and every line is allocated to a cost. So some of the things that are driving it are the pre-negotiated rates for union contracts. We can't do much about that, and frankly, I don't want to fight with the teachers. The other piece is the rising costs of utilities. Like for the school's budget alone, it was like a 9% increase for utilities than above what we projected, so that's a lot. I think we have to look at things strategically and literally just start shaving pennies everywhere we can. One thing we have, the town owns some land that's not currently producing the tax revenue. I think we have to look at that and see if we can sell it and make it taxable. Now, if you sell capital projects, capital cannot be used to plug holes in your operating budget, but you can do a trade-off, so that's potentially an option. We can look at GIC for insurance for municipal workers and the school department. That's a state umbrella for insurance. I don't know. But those are the questions. Maybe we can find ways to slowly chip away at every line item and find however many, $5,000 will give the senior center like a month of extra services they can provide. We need to start looking at $50,000 could be a huge boon to most departments. I'll shut up because Jeff has something.
Okay, Jeff.
So I just want to say that, that is a challenge, no doubt, and that was a great question. It is a challenge for all of us, and I look at it a couple different ways. In business, I run a business, right? So when we're looking at our budgets and we're trying to make ends meet and we're trying to show profits or whatever we're trying to do, in the business, there are times where you actually have to reach out as a business. You have to look into spending more money in different places. You have to look into meeting different people. You have to sit into different corporate meetings to try to generate revenue. I kind of look at the select board as like the keepers and the gatekeepers of that, right? So what can they do? Like what personalities do we have? How are they best suited? How can we move those in that direction? So we're talking about, like Mike mentioned that we have restaurants that are empty. We have businesses that they just don't come. I really do believe that the select board should be more active in a role where they are the ambassadors. They are the ones, thank you, they're the ones that should be outreaching in every different angle, trying to dig. Because you can't tell me with the median income that this town has that we can't attract a business where we can spend our money there. I don't buy it, and I don't know why that's the case, but there has to be a way, and there will be. You will find the way, and that's, as a select board member, that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, is finding that space, finding out how to get this business into that space. And this one, what do we have to do? Do we have to, work with them as far as, the tax, how our taxes are set up, or how do we do it? But we have to be able to reach out to other businesses, because you can't tell me that, some of these businesses would, yep, I got you. Some of these businesses wouldn't prefer to be in North Reading. So I just look at it that way. I think we could do a better job, and if I'm elected on the select board, actually, that's one of the things where my passions will be. Yep, thank you, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of information. Just very briefly, we started the EDC. I was the original chair of the EDC, Economic Development Committee. That is their job, is to try to attract business to come into town. What I think should happen on the budgets, because we are in a tough situation, is we have to recognize, and I've done fire and police and DPW and library contracts, they are not getting 1% increases. They need more if we're going to have staff. And so we have a huge problem with the police and the fire if you keep coming up, we're always on the low side. We're like, if you look at all the towns, we don't pay our public workers anywhere close to average. And so we've been trying to correct that. But as a result, we have a fixed cost that is going up. So it's a compromise between the two. So I think every time we come up to a year where we're thinking about budgets, 2 budgets should be proposed. One at level services that fits within the 2.5, and then what you think you need. It may not pass, but we should all recognize what we're leaving behind if we do that. Can't think of it. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. In regards to, so Rich just mentioned the Economic Development Committee. So I did some research on that committee. And just to give you an idea of what it focuses on developing the town's economy and strengthens local businesses. It acts as an advisory to the Select Board and the CPC. The problem is with that committee is, in the last 14 months, they've only met twice. November of 2024 and March of 2024. So what are they doing? I mean, I understand they're volunteers, but if we want to increase our commercial tax base here, we need to bring in the businesses. If they're not doing their job and reaching out across the district, then they're not doing their job. And if you look at the strategic planning document, it notes that one of the strengths are that the Economic Development Committee is active. It's not active. They call it a strength. It's not active. So we have to do a better job. That's my point. We have to get this EDC to actually do the work and move forward with it. Thank you.
So I think that's actually a very interesting point, because we have a lot of committee assignments in the town and the boards that have vacancies. Yes. Like, we have a lot of need for service and not the heck of a lot of people stepping up to say, I know how to do this, let me help. Like, surely we have accountants, we have, grant writers, people who in professional life have done it in the past or doing it now. I think we're getting to a point, folks, where like we can't afford a grant writer, but we could use some grants. And some grants may not be tied to the MBTA compliance, so we could use the help to staff up those volunteer positions. If you have 4 hours to spare in a week, step up and say, this is what I know, this is what I can do, because we all have to find a way to make the committees fully staffed, because 2 people don't make a committee. You got to have input from the folks, and we really, really could get the group's engagement and raise it up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
No.
I thought you were finished.
So something you should know, I am on the Economic Development Committee.
Where have you been?
Well, and that's a great point. So to Catherine's point, yes, we don't even make a quorum. So if anybody knows me, they know that I go to all the CPC meetings. They know that I go to almost all the select board meetings. Also, I go to all the Economic Development Committee meetings. And what happens is we never make a quorum. We don't have enough people. We need bodies. So yes, that is true. So to your point, Mike, it's not that we're not trying. We just don't have the bodies to do it. We can't make a quorum. So again, it's very frustrating. It's, it does present a problem, but that's why I mentioned that the select board should be the ambassadors, because I know that we can talk about people volunteering and that's great, but we're all busy. We have kids and we're running around and soccer and everything, and what happens is you get busy with life and you can't find that time to be away from your family, because time is very valuable, and I understand that. So not everyone can volunteer, not everyone can do that. I would love that. That'd be a perfect scenario and a great picture, but that's why I made the suggestion that the select board members should be the ambassadors to that cause. Thank you.
Just very briefly, I've had experience in creating committees and making them effective. So for example, there wasn't a transportation committee up until 2-3 years ago. That is now a very thriving committee that has full membership. There wasn't a sustainability committee. There wasn't. I wrote it. We had the recycling committee, and then I came up with the spec for sustainability committee. The way we're going to get volunteers is we have to actually reach out to them and embrace them and reward them. So one of my proposals, if you look in the back of my resume, you're going to see one of my proposals, we need to create a volunteer committee. A committee that once or twice a year sets up tables where residents can come through and see what all the different committees do, because we're all kind of hidden. And then once or twice a year, we actually honor those volunteers for doing their service, because a lot of people work in the dark. They never see the good that they're doing, and we should be honoring volunteers because they really matter to our people.
So the last few minutes we've been talking about strategic solutions. I want to bring it back for a minute and say we also have a tactical problem. We have a short-term problem too. Even if we had shovel-ready projects right now, you'd still be looking at 2, 3, 4 years before you really see revenue impact. The reason we're talking about an override is to solve more of the tactical problem. Maybe working, and this goes back to the alignment thought I had earlier, maybe working in conjunction with strategic solutions, it impacts the amount of an override, or the duration, or how that breaks down over the course of time, but we still need to solve the more immediate problem. Otherwise, year on year, we're still going to be facing how many cuts do we have next year until the revenue starts coming up. So in my opinion, we still have to look at both sides of it, both strategic and tactical.
Thank you, Jeff. So before I answer the next question here, I told you at the beginning, you're here to learn something. You learned something here. You learned that we need more people to help out and make this town function. If we don't do that, it's all the hard work that they put in goes for naught, because no one knows, everybody moves into the town and they expect the town to function, but they never know how it functions. Okay? So, and they take the brunt of it, no matter who it is. All right? So, this is your opportunity to go to town hall or go online and say, I think I can do this. Even if you can only put so much time into it. I think I can do this. I think I can help here. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Yes, wait. Okay, pass that mic.
I've had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Wallner and Ms. Morin. I would like to hear from Mr. Griffin and Mr. Scarlatta. How do you plan to maintain or improve academic excellence and equity while cutting school funding?
Great question. Great question. Great question.
Of course, this question will be asked of everybody in that category. But they asked you, so.
Sure. So that's a great question, and I met you guys earlier, and I had a great conversation at that table. So when it comes to trying to maintain what you have and not having enough money to do it, right? So I kind of look at things like how I operate my home, right? So if you want to go out to a restaurant and you want to have a steak dinner, right? And that's great. Everybody would like to have a steak dinner, but the town, and this is a scenario like, if I can't go out to have a steak dinner because it's not in the budget, then what's going to happen is my wife's going to say, well, Jeff, maybe we should go to Apothecary and grab a couple pizzas. So that's kind of my approach to looking at budgets. Because what happens is, the reality is, if we can't attract more commercial, bigger base, then what's going to happen is there's no more revenue there. The revenue is only what's there unless we go for increases in tax, like an override or something like that. I know that the school committees worked really hard. I've seen it. I've been at the meetings. I've seen them go back and forth and bounce their budgets around. I've seen FinCom's done a great job too, bouncing their budgets around. So we're really stuck in a tough place. We really are. Our land, as some of these gentlemen said, there's only so much you can do with it, right? So those pieces of land you really can't do a lot with. So when we talked about like the expansion, like the ideas Warren had, those are the footprints and those are the foundational things that are going to have to happen in order to be able to take care of those issues in the way that you're asking. Like stuff has to develop within the town. We have to get aggressive. We have to look at different options so that issues in schools and costs and the money that's there. It would be great. I would love to say, hey, we got a commercial building going in. Excuse me one second. We got this great commercial building going in. We worked with the SOAR committee. We're going to be putting up this thing, and this is our revenue. And then that would be great. But the footprint of the town does not allow that at this time. So I hope that helps you. I hope that.
Hold on. You got what you got.
I have a different.
Hold on, wait. She is directed to you and Mike. Right, Jeff and Madison. Let Mike go first. I'm sorry.
Thank you for the question. So, with respect to the schools, I see the numbers. If we had to eliminate 15 positions last year and 11 positions this year, class sizes are going to increase.
Well, it changed.
We forgot something. Okay. All right. In any event, the class sizes have to increase a little, from what is my understanding. It's unfortunate. The parents, I understand your concerns. You want to have all these different programs for your students, for all your different types of students, and I get it. But again, like what Jeff said, unfortunately, in the short term, there's going to be issues where you're not going to get everything. So we got to think the long term so that we can mitigate what's happening now by trying to increase, get more tax revenue, whether it's from commercial increase or the last resort, in my opinion, is a Prop 2.5 override. But right now, nothing's going to change, unfortunately. So we have to look at FY 2026, 2027 to see if we can mitigate what the issues that are occurring right in schools right now. So we got to think long term to really solve some of the issues. It's not going to happen short term.
Thank you. So just to let you know, young lady, I don't know if you were listening or not, but you asked a question about two members that you did not get a chance to speak to, okay? But no one got a chance to speak to the two people you spoke to. So now we're going to give them a fair share so everybody can hear what you heard them say.
Okay, so I think we can actually take action today. And here's how I suggest to do it. There's a community out in Springfield where they have seniors working with foster kids in a community. And the experience and the results of this connection has exceeded everybody's expectations. Foster children are performing at a very high level. So what does that have to do with us? If we got our seniors connected with our kids and actually integrate them for after-school activities where they study together, where they work together, where they interact together, we can potentially, right away, just through volunteerism, make things happen that we cannot afford to do in any other way. And so I'm encouraging us to look at that very seriously, because every time we've had the seniors interact with the kids, 8th graders, things like that, the experience has been great. We just have not capitalized on it, and we can do it.
So the immediate cuts to this coming year budget, like I think everybody knows in middle school we're going to lose a language specialist, and like that's heartbreaking to me because I've been making my children take voluntary language in elementary because I told them in middle school it's compulsory and now they're going to lose it, and so I look like a liar. This is kind of a far-fetched idea. I'm going to research it and I'll bring it back to the team. But there is a fully online public school in Massachusetts. It's called the Greenfield School. It's fully accredited. It's running on the same curriculum as all public schools in Massachusetts. They take the MCAS, they follow the curriculum, they do all the same things, but it's fully online for kids who can't or won't, for reasons many, can't attend in person. So my question is, can we be co-enrolled in our public school system in this online school system? And could we then use that online resource to supplement some of the services we're losing, like the language? Like you can't do music online. We tried during COVID, it was hard. We can't do art online, but we can do language online. We can do maybe some AP math online. Maybe we can do some hard sciences that are a lot more cut and dry online, where that face-to-face interaction may not be as critical, which you can't replace a teacher, but that could be a way to supplement what we're losing for just this immediate coming year, and then say, as we work towards the golden parachute with the treatment plan, and see if we can bridge that gap and then somehow get to the next level.
So if I may ask, if you were on the select board, you would make that recommendation to the school committee? Is that what I'm understanding?
So as a private citizen and a parent of an incoming middle schooler, I'm going to call them tomorrow and see if I can meet with them and go through what their issues are. Because even if the school doesn't necessarily coordinate that, then as parents, we could do that. And we would ask for the school's support to provide time for the students and resources. Like, a lot of kids have the Chromebooks. Maybe we could use those to provide that additional instruction that we can't pay for because we've now lost them.
So is that what you shared with that young lady when you spoke to her? So that was the point of her question, that she had spoken to you and spoken to Rich, but she hadn't spoken to the other two candidates. So she wanted your perspective. She wanted their perspective as a select person, and then you spoke to.
That's one of the topics we covered in our conversation.
Just want to clarify.
No, yeah.
That's all. Okay.
I guess this is for select board candidates. According to the master plan and the commercial development plan that the town has in place, how do you intend to keep it regimented more towards business? I know Mr. Scalata mentioned that right now we're at approximately 6% of business. I know the select board in the past has mentioned that we need to be about 12% to change the tax revenue commercial to private. It's a pretty big jump. It's double our size. I know it was mentioned a few of the smaller businesses that are vacant right now. I think there's 6, you said, Mr. Slaughter, Middle Street. We also spoke about Papagino's. Right now, there's not that many open slots or businesses per se that we're talking about. How do we plan on, or how do you folks plan on increasing our revenues from 6 to 12% to get the commercial rate that we're talking about? And also, is there anything in place to keep, if sewer comes down here, to keep that business-wise and not just have all these smaller mom and pops and these smaller commercial places torn down, and adding residential apartment buildings, which is going to overtax the police, the fire, the school systems?
I hope you all got that, because I missed. Yeah?
It's like a multi-step question.
It's a multi-step question.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
How are they going to keep it business? How are they going to increase the business from 6 to 12% of the town?
Okay. So how are you going to keep the business you have, and then increase it from 6 to 12? Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. So maintain what you have versus lose, and increase the number of businesses from 6% to 12%. That make sense?
Excuse me. I believe we already. Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude.
I didn't say you were.
No, I'm just. I had
It's okay. You get it.
Running out of time. And I'm not trying
No,
to.
it's okay because it's from a different perspective.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. So as I said, it's 6% right now. I didn't realize that they're looking to go 12%. I was thinking like 9 or 10%, which would bring in significant tax revenue to the town. And I'm not looking to, boom this town into like a huge metropolis. I'm looking to keep the small town feel as is. However, if you look on Main Street, there are opportunities to bring in businesses because there's a lot of empty storefronts, if you will. And we have to think about the long term. I mean, I stress that enough. We pay 88% of the taxes, you and I. And if we keep status quo, there's going to be a Prop 2.5 override every year. We're going to have deficit spending on the municipal side and the school side continually. So we have to be proactive in trying to figure out ways to bring in commercial tax base. And the Economic Development Committee, we have to collaborate with them and the Finance Committee and whoever else is going to help us to think of ways to do that. I mean, the Select Board is not going to do it alone. We need to collaborate and think outside the box, ask the probing questions, and try to bring in businesses. If we have to bring in Middleton and bring them in and see how they're doing it, absolutely. I'm open to anything. But if we do status quo right now, if we don't do anything, we're going to run into these deficits. Our expenses will be above our revenue continuously. So we just have to really be proactive about what we need to do.
So the question about increasing the tax rate from 6 to 12, that's a really big jump, and I agree with Mike. Doubling it is going to drive some smaller businesses out, and I don't think we want to do that. I think we need to look at the gradual process where it's increasing, not all at once. Maybe it goes a few percent, and then it goes again. We have to look at what type of businesses we're trying to encourage to bring in. Because if you look at the restaurants, we could use a few more, not big, and sewer will help with that, but one thing that I always think about, small businesses employ people. And we have a lot of high school kids that don't have an opportunity for work here in North Reading. You know, we don't have a lot of small businesses where they can continue to work and study. Instead, they're going to Linfield and they're waiting tables there, and they're going somewhere else and doing, you know, the jobs that high schoolers do. So I think we need to look at businesses that will help employ the people in town who are not, you know, rising seniors out of high school, in addition to bringing bigger businesses that will help to increase the revenue in kind of a bigger jump.
So Ralph, that was a good one, buddy. And that's a tough one, and you know it is. You know it's tough, because, and I know how business works, and to go from 6% to 12 isn't gonna happen in a 3-year term right here. I'll tell you right now, it's not. So we've heard the terminology long-term. Yeah, that stuff's really important. We have to be able as a community to really step out, and first of all, we have to be able to talk about this stuff. And I'm glad there's as many people in this room tonight that there are. I really am. So we have to be able to step out. We do have to work together in trying to, like, okay, so every business that goes in is so sewage sensitive, right? So maybe we're looking at the wrong sewage sensitive businesses. Maybe there are, what's wrong with an office building? What's wrong with that? You have, you know, the building that my business is in. There's one toilet on the first floor, one on the second. Uh-oh, Warren says I can't do it. Why, Warren?
Hold on.
Hey, hang on a second.
He's going to have his chance to say.
Okay, anyways, I love it when he chimes in. I respect him. But anyways, so it's a really hard question. But I do know that, so I have these challenges too at work, like how do we get our budgets into different places? Like what can we do as a team? And I'll tell you, our team, we meet every Friday morning. We spend like an hour and we talk about all these different things, all your expenditures, all your income. We look at all these different things, but we look at it all the time. And we talk about it all the time. And it becomes habitual. And when it becomes habitual, it becomes easygoing. And when it becomes easygoing, then it becomes eye-opening. And then once it becomes eye-opening, it really does develop into good business habits. And that's what the town, you know, the town of North Reading, there's so much potential. It's going to be delicate. It's going to be tough, but it can be done. I don't think that you'll see that 6 to 12. I don't think you'll see that. But you know what? If I could get 2%, if I go 6 to 8, guess what? That's a win. That's a win, Ralph. So, you know, and thank you.
There's a lot of numbers being kicked around. I've always known the commercial number to be 12%, just for the record, and it's 88% residential. When we think about this, the thing we have to think about is we've already studied this, we know what it is. It's wastewater, and it's wastewater. That is how we're going to turn things around. And if we don't do that, we're always going to be kind of this island in the midst of all this development that's going on around us. And also the other thing we know is that we haven't given people, because we lose like restaurants and everything else like that, our non-discretionary money, our discretionary money is all leaving outside our borders. People don't go into downtown North Reading to enjoy their night, they go elsewhere. It's a huge number, and if we were to create a mixed-use opportunity at the Ocean Lot, which is a potential, we might start to actually get some economic development happening just because people will start to spend money in their own town as opposed to taking it out of town.
Thank you, Rich. One other thing, too, that I thought was a good idea. And Rich mentioned the job lot, and everybody's been talking about that. I'll tell you right now that I don't think it's a good idea that the town just continuously buy real estate, right? If it benefits us, maybe. But my proposal will be, I will have a proposal that if we're going to buy something, we better be selling something to offset those costs. That's just a thought. Thank you.
After me, to answer this question. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. In defense of the Economic Development Committees, I did a little research on them at one point, and the majority of them have very little success. But generally, the problem is lack of resources. You need a lot of resources if you're going to make major changes like that. So I can get a quick story about Walmart. How did we get Walmart? Well, when Stop and Shop came in, the ones up here that's closed now, but when they came in, they did an elaborate traffic study, and they did an elaborate study of the towns around us and everything, and we swiped it, and we sent it off to Walmart. Said, not only do we have a traffic study to show we have everything you need for customers, but we have the Siemens next door building, which is empty and ready for you to move into. They came and took a look, and it was an instant sale, just like that. So we kind of put two things together. So saying that we have locations, we do have locations like where Ocean State Job Lots is, and actually there's room over where Walmart is. They could probably put some more stores in over there. But the thing that needs to happen, you need to identify a need. So we look at the town to identify a need, and then the next thing that you do is you try to find some way to fill that need. Where who's looking for that, but it takes research. It takes some time to find out who's looking for a space like that, and to provide them with information like traffic studies and things like that to show that there's a customer base available for them out there. So, and again, a lot of the research, a lot of the studies that we've had done show that we need more residential out on this area in order to feed those businesses.
Question over here.
I just want to switch gears for a minute. I watch, since my kids have grown up, I have a lot of extra time, so I watch the select board meetings, attend them, watch CPC meetings, and attend some of them on Zoom or in person. So I know where Mr. Sheehan, Mr. Rudloff, and Mr. Pierce stand. Mr. Koss, can you please tell me about MBTA 3A and where you stand with that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's been a hot button issue. I've attended a couple town meetings. As Mr. Yule mentioned, it got real contentious and a little out of hand. The MBTA law is on the books. It's been ruled on by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Judiciary Court of the state. We stand to lose if we don't come into compliance. I think we need to find a way to come into compliance as best we can. I think that's actually coming up this week. The committee's going to make a vote on it as to whether or not it makes the warrant. It's the law. I'm in favor of finding a way to come into compliance so we don't lose some grants that we've already been awarded. We'd actually have to pay them back, and we wouldn't be able to apply for more.
So just a quick follow-up on that. How many CPC meetings have you attended over the last year?
Why does she get to follow up? She got what she got too.
But you've all done too. People have all
Why do you have to be
down.
so rude?
Calm down.
Okay.
Here goes.
Personally attended, not nearly enough. This came up as an opportunity to help the town, and I told papers it did. I went back and watched all the last 14 months of CPC meetings on the NORCAM YouTube channel, and tried to catch myself up as best I could that way.
Okay, there are two questions. You're talking about MBTA, okay, and how many meetings have you attended? How many meetings have you attended, that kind of thing?
Well, as far as meetings, I've attended every meeting since I've been on the board since in November. I couldn't put a number on how many I've attended prior to that, either in person or I've watched a number of them online. I couldn't put a number, probably 20 or so, maybe at least. As far as my position on the MBTA, it's well known, I've made votes on that already. My concern is the overdevelopment that can bring and impacting the parcels that have been identified to be part of the MBTA overlay district, the property rights of those people. There's been a lot of back and forth on does it affect it, does it not affect it, and I'll be honest with you, I have not been able to be given a concrete answer one way or the other that it can't change, for instance, the Martin's Landing over 55. I have not been given from either side a yes or no. So my feeling is I'm going to err on the side of caution to protect the residents. That's my feeling.
Okay.
Jeff, we have a question.
Okay, I just said he goes first. Yeah.
Hi, thanks.
You go next, how's that sound?
I just had a follow-up to the young lady's question. She had asked about what we're doing, what we have done, what we plan to do to protect equity and inclusion in the town and the schools, but no one gave an answer to it. So I wanted to, if you go to the select board, the school board again, and actually say what you're doing, what you've done, what you plan to do to protect equity and inclusion in the schools and the town.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing about sewers.
Your questions to the school, right?
No, school and the select board, they were asked the question. They
But the select board has nothing to do with equity, right? But the school committee does.
That's not true.
So I'm going to give it to the school.
No, excuse me. The town does deal with equity and inclusion, so I'd like both of them to answer.
That's what she asked.
Are you referring to the employees of the town?
The select board,
Yeah, the select board, but
of the town.
on what basis? Are you talking about the employees? The school committee is responsible for
She asked the
education.
question.
The school committee,
I'm gonna get an answer.
okay, she got an answer, but the school committee deals with education, which is where DEI is. Now, if you're talking about DEI in the employees, then that's a different story. That's an answerable question.
Equity is around everything. I never said DEI. I said equity.
You're just talking equity, okay.
We don't have to go
but you're
DEI.
talking- I just can't clarify. I want people to understand your question. That's all I want to do here.
I'm just
okay?
asking for an answer to her
Your
question.
equity, okay, that's in the school. Now, as far as the select board, are you talking about equity in the employers? The
No,
employees?
the town. We're talking about the town, the community. People of color live in the town.
Jeff, I can help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can answer that.
I can help
All right. I'm just looking to get an answer to her question. That'd be great.
Okay, so on a town level, let's take equity first, right? I look at that as like a thing that's coming up in June is Pride Month, right? LGBTQ. And we have the select board has been unanimously supporting Pride Month for I think 5 years now. And I wrote the original proclamation, which we read every year. I'm a big supporter for embracing all of the diversity that's in our town and to give them a support that we give to them. And if you've ever been to the Pride event, you can see nothing but a loving community. when it comes to inclusion, I just gave up my chair to Gina Morin on the Commission on Disability, but that's what we're focused on is how do you include people who are not at the same functioning level as most normal people are? How do you include them in our world? How do you make a better place for them? How do you educate them? How do you transport them? How do you take care of them? That is part of our community. That's who we have to take care of. And we've done studies and we know what that's about, and we're working on it now to include all people who need to be included in our society. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So with respect to equity inclusion, North Reading welcomes everyone. I don't care if you're gay, straight, poor, rich, man, woman, trans, whatever. You're welcome to North Reading. You know, I'm not prejudiced to anybody, and I'm sure no one else is here is prejudiced about anyone. I think everybody's welcome to North Reading. That's how I feel, and I haven't seen any difference in that in my sentiments. Thank you.
So I think it's important to say everyone is included, but I think we also need to provide physical steps to make sure that people are welcomed. You know, I'm a professional designer and I've spent the last 30 years of my life doing this, and to me, universal design is one of those things that you have to plan for, and that's a physical manifestation of diversity and inclusion. Now we have a rapidly growing senior population. You know, I'm one of these. I have one everywhere in my house because I now can't see. So you have to provide physical support for people of all shapes, sizes, and abilities, whether it's physical and mental. You have to make sure sidewalks are navigatable. You know, if you try to ever roll down a sidewalk in a wheelchair, it's a nightmare. If you've been to the senior center, that ramp is not to code. If you're in the wheelchair and you don't have upper hand mobility strength, you can't get yourself up the ramp. Someone has to push you. And then someone has to help you get down the ramp when it's covered in ice. You have, as part of the planning board and part of the select board, we have to make sure that when we solicit bids, then when we stand up buildings, we employ universal design, and we include people from the physical perspective as well as emotional support, because I think it's important. We can say we welcome everyone, but we need to actually demonstrate it. Yes. Better sidewalks, better physical accommodations, you know, better audible signals at the street lights that Steve O'Leary now hates, because kids can't sometimes push the button. We need to bring them lower. People in the wheelchair can't reach the button. The little bumpy things that you put at the transition from the street to the sidewalk, we need to make sure those are in good repairs, because some people who have limited visibility, they can't see the yellow stripe, and they need to be able to feel it. So we need to be really cognizant of how we build the infrastructure for the town, and it's not, you know, a lot of extra money. It's known design principles that we just need to employ.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, no, I don't want to jump ahead of Jeff, but I'm going to piggyback on what she just said.
Okay, so that is true. As a select board, you do need to take care of people. That's what we're supposed to do. We're seniors. I can tell you this, I've talked to a lot of seniors over the last few years, and that's really a big issue right now. The seniors are struggling. There's a lot of people in this town that are having a hard time just making ends meet. And like I said, I hear it all the time. They can't retire from their jobs. They're, you know, 72 years old, they're still working because they can't afford to live here. So we have, the senior population is growing here, which is good. We welcome that because that helps us with the back end of the cost of students in schools. So I hear that all the time, and that is actually, just so you know, that's one of the main reasons why I decided to run, because I heard it over and over and over again. I'd go home at dinner time and share the stories with my family, and it's kind of sad, actually. You know, in an affluent town, a town that has some money, but yet there are a lot of people that don't. So we have to protect all of our people, I guess is what I'm getting at. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was just a nice transition because Catherine was talking from a structural sense, universal design, structural, in terms of access to buildings. Well, there's something that is a focus area of the school committee and has been for the last 3 years moving forward is something called universal design and learning. So it's meeting kids and learners where they are and making sure that every student has access to what they need in order to be educated, to feel safe as they're educated, to be met where their needs are. And in terms of what we're doing, I think what we're doing is in jeopardy because of the loss of, we're looking at the loss of some important positions that are put into place to make sure that kids that have different needs, different areas, that we're going to lose. I'm in fear of us losing that. So in terms of what school committee can do, I think it's just to continue to have a focus on how to make sure we fill the mandate of educating every kid, making every kid, meeting them where they are.
So I'll give the boring answer. There's been a lot of talk about executive orders that have come down. We follow state law. The guidance we've gotten from the governor, state AGs, and DESE is to maintain what we're already doing. We are doing that. We plan on continuing that. There is a recent lawsuit enacted last week. We're one of 19 states that are a part of that. There's several rulings that came down. Yeah, I know, legal geek. That came down last week in federal district courts. We are going to maintain our course until we are given guidance from the state level to do otherwise. We are not in danger of losing currently grants. That is all stayed in the courts. And that would happen through the state level. So even if we were to change our policies, the grants we get from the federal government go from federal to state and state to municipal. So even if we change things, we can still lose grants. So my point here is we don't have a plan to make a change to our curriculum, excepting for the fact that we are making cuts. That's a different discussion, but we are maintaining our current curriculum when it comes to equity. So.
100 units of housing where the John T. Berry was. Now, if you live there and you wanted to go down, Main Street is now downtown. If you wanted to go there, you can't get there if you wanted to walk. All right? There's one section which could have been done by an off-site improvement by the builders. That's what I would like you gentlemen to look into, and you gentlemen to look into. All right?
And women.
And women.
You can't walk on North Street without getting run over.
Or on any street in town. Or Chestnut Street.
I got one more.
Or Martin's Pond.
All right, so I would like the selectmen to look into it. That's 800 units of housing with people there who would want to walk down to Stop and Shop, walk up to Main Street. They can't. And it goes for nothing because it's an off-site improvement. The other one, this one's a big one. This one is a big one. I live on North Main Street. I'm across from Dunkin' Donuts. From Burroughs Road to the Andover line, 6 people have got killed in the 59 years that I've been there. 3 of them were pedestrians. 2 of them, they hit the poles. The last one was a motor scooter. That is a dangerous piece of Main Street. The town has to go to the state. This is another one that would not cost any money. Planning board, selected. It's going to happen again. The last one was a little girl, 14 years old, who got hit there. The bad part was my daughter was behind her in her car, and she lived with that for a couple months, all right, from the girl getting hit. That's what I wanted to get out tonight. This is for the selectmen. This is for the planning board. Thank you.
Thank you, John. One question here and one question there, and that'll be it for the night, because it's late.
I do have a question at the end of this, if you guys will just indulge me.
No, just the questions. We don't want any stories, okay?
Okay, well, it has to do with, just like with him with disability and an experience we had at the turkey trot and whatnot. I want to explain something. I'm kind of probably an anomaly. We moved here, and in my house is 2 seniors, okay, when we moved here. An infant, a preschool, of course they're much older now, we've been here almost 8 years. A infant, a preschooler, 2 seniors, and my brother who will need care for the rest of his life. Okay, which is why I am home. So when I tell you that every decision we make as a community affects me, I am not joking, okay? I did not come with the intention to ask anything, but I took a couple notes. So that is why I'm very much a note taker because of my anxiety. So I don't like doing this impromptu. So that's why I'm just asking. Just give me 2 minutes, okay? We are a community that we act welcoming to. I want your vote, okay? To people who are new to town, or maybe don't know how things run. We purchased our house but did not move in for another 4 months because we were renovating. And we came to that very first town meeting, because we had always lived in a city type government, that October. Because we're like, well, we need to throw ourselves in and figure this out. And that's one thing that's great, but we need to make sure that the people who are doing that, once they're voted, it's not like I'm gonna put on a smile, but I really have an agenda. Special ed. My child is brilliant, and I'm not saying it because I'm a mother. He's just like my father, who is also brilliant, but was raised in a poor country. And he is high functioning, autistic, which is what used to be called Asperger's. And when you have situations, and this will end up being one of the questions I have for the school committee, which I think we need to figure this out because it can help us in not, I think, getting some families wanting to leave, is when your child who is not brilliant, but is not going to be street smart. My daughter will be street smart. She's like,
I'd like to get to the question.
She will, there's a situation with other students, and it's brought to the attention, and it's like, he will figure it out. No, he's autistic. Just because he seems, quote unquote, normal, he is high functioning. Teachers need to learn in general. Like, you cannot have one teacher, or we have our feelings teacher, but that person is not with the students all day. So how do we make it so, I don't know, during, for instance, teacher development, can teachers learn in general who have not taken special education in college? Learn, how do we kind of learn a little bit about this so that we learn? Because you know what, those other kids, and I know the moms, and I could have gone to them, and I just left it. Yeah, those kids, guess what? Some of the parents are in committees, are in the city government, are in the, so we can't be, I'm not gonna be blind as a parent either, that like things aren't always addressed evenly between all children with special education. And that's also another issue of we need to have steps for special education, because that will also not have people go out. We're losing a lot of money with people who are saying, I want my child, you're not giving the things, my child is leaving. So how can we look at that? This is important. We have people leaving. We're doing what, like $80,000 per child?
I see what you're saying. So you say, how can we keep it in-house?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
But it's a very, a lot of, not everybody, because you can't, but a lot of times it's a lot of these little things that add up. And what's not being when you look at the bigger picture is, and then that goes into tax, nobody wants taxes raised.
I want to get to your question, because it's late, we're only allowed to be here.
Oh, I know, my brother needs his medicine in 10 minutes, and I've been waiting. I just have one more thing I wrote. The wheelchair, I was forced to take my brother on his mobility chair on the sidewalk. I think because you have to. I was told by one officer. The next officer is like, no, we're here, it's okay, you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is an our community event. And my brother literally almost toppled on his, like, we need to be a community. We can't keep, we keep discussing issues. And it's my issue, my household issue, or my little group of issues. And we're not being a community. And the reason I'm saying this is because my parents had nothing, and it's one of those things where you get to the point of, the house I have, it's great, but that's not the values I teach my kid. And if it gets to the point of like,
we're losing everybody right now. It's starting to overtalk. I'm going to have, I think the question that you had is, how can you take your situation and have it dealt with in-house in the educational system? Okay, so you answer that question?
Yeah, so I appreciate you bringing this scenario. Obviously, this is something that, again, Jeff and I aren't educators. We are we're setting the policy, monitoring budget for the administration and the educators. So I don't want to try to answer you in a way that I just don't have the ability to answer you. But I will say that it is acknowledged that there is a huge need to make sure that all, and I have said this before, that all children are able to be educated. So I know it's complicated. We have the CPAC. If you ever are able to maybe virtually attend one of the CPAC meetings, I think that would be really interesting for you. And I have dear friends that advise me on this, but I'm not an expert. But I would say that we need to continue to listen to community input, people that are living daily with these challenges, and talk to our administration. Like, I want to be able to understand everyone's stories and see how to address it. I think that, there's different plans in place and things like that, but I don't feel like necessarily equipped to be able to answer your specific scenario, but to understand that we see it, we observe it, and we want to, and it's what I said at the beginning, as something that's important to address, because it's just going to, the problem's just going to keep growing if we aren't able to.
Jeff?
Yeah, so the problem is structural and holistic.
Right.
And one of the things that we've talked about and again, this was about 3 or 4 months ago when we were doing a full review of the SPED program in the town, is what are the options to keep more kids within the program? Again, this is something, outplacements have been growing year on year. The next part of the nexus here still comes back to budget in terms of having the appropriate staff to have a small group or one-on-one within classrooms. I'm not talking about separating out, I'm talking within classrooms. Part of it is also budget to train. That is, I also have, my wife works as an adjustment counselor in a different district. There's a lot of training that goes on, to your point. Again, this is going back to what Noel was saying. I won't tell you, oh, here's the silver bullet, because that's not my training or expertise. But I will say there is a nexus between what we've been talking about for budget and our ability to to keep people in district. And this goes back to what's been said before. It becomes an investment. To invest in something like this has a longer term payoff, which ultimately does save us money in the budget. So yes, if we hire now and we deal with this sooner, the investment pays off over the long haul because you're not paying for outplacements, you're not paying for transportation, you're not paying for the increases in costs that go along with that. You end up winning in the end. So I'd stick with that in this answer. I know it's late, but I hope we've gotten to your question.
Okay. If you had the next, go ahead. Oh, yeah.
I can yell, I'm a paraprofessional.
I know you do.
She's a paraprofessional? So, my question is basically addressed to Mr. Griffin.
Excuse me.
But anyone that is willing to answer is welcome to. So I came here tonight, I'm going to digress, because my husband wanted to learn about the candidates, and I also felt that it's probably important to do so. So I had an interaction with you, Mr. Griffin, 2 years ago when the paraprofessionals were fighting for a living wage. And we attended Town Day with a petition trying to get enough signatures to present to the school committee so that they would listen to us. And they did, so thank you. However, when we approached you, and I personally approached you, you refused to sign our petition. And you said that you did not support unions. And that is very concerning to me, considering that we have police, fire, teachers, paraprofessionals, and whatever other unions I'm missing. So I give you all the opportunity to defend yourself right now, but that is my main concern. So if anyone else wants to answer that, you're more than welcome to, but it's a big concern of mine.
Sure. So anytime someone approaches me with a petition, if I don't know anything about it, I'm not supporting it. I'm not going to support it because I don't know anything about it. So when you approach me, that might have been the case. And as far as the union goes, just so you know, I was a union shop steward for 14 years in a huge conglomerate company. I represented 160 members for 14 years and sat at board meetings and fought every day to make sure that those union guys got what they deserved. Okay? So I'm just telling you, when it comes to, I was a union member. I paid union dues for 27 years. I worked for National Grid, Keyspan, and Boston Gas. I don't even remember that, but that goes in the Wayback Machine. So as far as that goes, I would never, ever, ever sign a petition if I didn't have the information in front of me and someone just approached me with it. I wouldn't do it because I know, you start reading through the literature and you read the lines. There's a lot of different stuff. It's just like a contract. Anything you do with a contract, you don't just sign a contract. Someone tells you one thing about a contract, you have to read it. You have to go through it. And if you don't understand it, you have to seek counsel so you understand it. So as far as that goes, thank you. Yeah, as far as that.
I did explain to you what it's about.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can explain to me. And I used to sit in corporate meetings when people would explain things to me. Well, that was their interpretation of what they read, right? And that's fair. But to really understand and know, you have to have the documents in front of you. You really do.
He's answering the question.
Yep. Yep, thank you. That's it, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, last one.
That's close the door.
Just a quick statement. I mean, I keep hearing school, school, school. I worked for the schools for 24 years. I subbed for 10 years after that. We have a great school department, a school system. I mean, we have special ed. I worked with the special ed kids. I worked with normal ed kids. We have a great school system. But it's not just the school. We have a whole community that has to be taken care of. We have seniors that are, having major issues that it's like, oh, well, we'll just kind of, push them off to the side. This is a community, not just the school. And when the teachers, when the superintendent or the school committee says they had to lay off 14 people, I got in fact, I got 2 public records requests. There weren't 14 teachers that were laid off last year. And they haven't laid off many this year. They might be talking about it, but they were handed pink slips. But according to the documentation that I got from the school committee, there weren't 14 people, okay? So, I mean, I can show you if you want to see it. I don't have it with me now. But it's a whole community, not just the kids. And I love kids.
So,
You know that?
so let me talk about layoffs just for a second. Part of that deals with attrition. So, for example, if you fund numbers, let's assume you have 10 people, 2 retire, you replace one of them. You've still lost one person. That's part of it.
You didn't fire them or lay them off.
No, some people retired, and we did not replace them. And that means a loss in staff.
That means you didn't need them.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
Don't make an action, just let him answer the question. You either like his answer or you don't.
Then thank you for the statement. With respect to, so as a select board members, right, there's a balance we have to really think about. You know, we have the parents, we have the seniors, we have the empty nesters. You know, we have to think about everyone as a whole. So again, if you're looking at a Prop 2.5 override, that could be detrimental to a number of people in town. So as you know, 30% of the population in this town is considered seniors, 60 or higher. Most are on fixed incomes. If we keep doing a Prop 2.5 override, they're going to sell. And what happens is, and Richard said this as well, if they sell, they're going to sell to families, which is great. But most families have 1 or 2 kids. Those kids are going to add to the budgets. It's going to be a more restraint on the budgets. So we need to keep the seniors here. We have to do everything we can to keep the seniors here, because when they pay property taxes, they don't have any kids in the schools. It's all, you know, they just have limited expenses with respect to the municipals and the education. So we got to keep the seniors here. So that's why I said we got to think outside the box. We got to bring in more commercial tax base here, and then see what we can do for the long term. But we have to keep the seniors here because we'll be in dire straits, and the budgets will have deficit spending continuously.
Catherine?
So you're right, it is a community and we need to take care of everyone. We need to educate the children and we need to take care of the seniors. You know, I just learned recently that when Martin's Pond got permitted, the senior center budget didn't go up, ever. So
Please be quiet.
we're now paying for senior services with almost 34%, I think Kim said, of seniors in town with the same budget that was kind of designed for a natural age in place population. It went from 9 to 10 to 12. That's kind of what you expect for a town of our size, and then it almost tripled. So obviously that's a problem, and that's a problem in the past that now we have to unravel. So I agree with you, we have to take care of everyone. I think the last Prop 2.5 override had a provision for seniors to qualify to exclude them from that. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Okay. But
Different warrant article.
different warrant article. But if we do an override, I think that's something we have to look at, because we can't drive people out of homes. We have people who were sleeping in cars last year because they couldn't afford their housing and their medication and their food, so they have to pick and choose, and we should not be having that. So I think we need to look at, more surgical override proposals and try to fund specific things rather than going, now we need $10 million. That's hard to swallow, that's hard to say. I personally voted yes for it, but I understand where people go, I have to eat, and I have to take my meds, and I have to have a place to live. So it's really complex, and we need to make sure we take care of all of those issues holistically.
But again, it's not just the seniors, it's the whole community. I mean, I raised 3 kids, I raised my grandchildren.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any input?
No, but that.
I have to ask, you mentioned this at the, Catherine, you mentioned this at the last DTC candidates night, and he said it again tonight, and I was wondering, I mean, I'm shocked to hear that people are living in their cars. So do you have the data to support that? Where does that come from?
So I met with Kim Manzella, she's the senior center director. I just called her up and I said, hey, can I come over? And she's like, well, let me give you the tour. And I'm like, great. She's like, well, this is it. I'm like, what do you mean? It's a 2-story building. She's like, well, it's a historic building. I'm like, I got it. You can't do an elevator. We can't have people climbing the stairs. So when I was talking to her, I said, what is your biggest issue right now? She's like, well, it's money. I'm like, no, I get that. The senior center depends a lot on grants. Some of their positions are half funded by the town and half funded by the grants. And then she just shared with me, she said, we're relying on transportation from volunteers, we're relying on Meals on Wheels, and we've had people who were sleeping in cars because they couldn't afford their housing anymore. And the winter we had last year, that was awful. Like, I don't have hard data, this is what Kim told me,
Okay.
and I was floored. I couldn't believe it.
I'd be floored too. So I just needed to understand, because I didn't want anybody to think that you just made it up.
No, that's where it came from, and it's a Walmart parking lot.
Okay.
So it's heartbreaking.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for the night. I want to thank you all for your civility and your hard questions. I hope you learned a lot. I hope it invigorates you to get more involved within the community. All right, go after that school board and work with them. Okay, and I want to say thank you for your donations for the scholarship. We really do appreciate that. So we're supposed to end at 9. I think it's past that.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good, for all the questions, I think were answered as best as they could. And I want you to applaud all of these candidates for stepping forward.